It sounds like what everyone expected Dame Sarr's announcement to be has potentially changed. In the last week, it was all but a foregone conclusion that Dame Sarr would be committing to Kansas. We had crystal balls of many shapes and sizes from insiders in and outside of the Kansas program, basically telling us it was a done deal. Just wait on this announcement. However, today, things have changed. The update that has been making the rounds on social media as of this morning is that Travis Branham himself, who had put a crystal ball in on Dame Sarr to Kansas, has been removed. He has taken that down and with it provided an update that basically states this is a strange recruitment. Things have changed rapidly. This is not the first time that things have rapidly changed in Dame Sarr's recruitment. Reminder that FC Barcelona's star prospect had privately been expected to go to Illinois. Things rapidly changed once, where he reopened his recruitment, and they've rapidly changed again. Riley, what is your reaction to this? What are you hearing today?
Yeah, reaction is Brian Bowen walked so that Dame Sarr could fly. You remember, like, that was, I guess, 7 or 8 years ago at this point, where it was like, oh man, Brian Bowen commits to Louisville in June. That, like, he's got to be on campus next week. This is crazy. Like, isn't this insane? Like, now that's no sweat. That's like half the dudes who are going to be contributors on top 30, top 40 teams are stringing this out, waiting to commit, changing their minds. With Dame, man, I hope it never ends. I hope we get to August. I hope we get to opening night and we still don't know where Dame is playing. On a more serious note, I think this is a bummer for Kansas, just because I was like sort of flirting with the little idea of like Bill Self revenge tour silly face, and Sarr seems like a big part of that unless they can go and land Darian Williams, and it just makes you wonder, like, was it that Sarr was just waiting on this Duke call? I know those are the early rumors. Was that, oh, like Duke was on him initially, then they pulled back when they got Coward. Coward blows up at the NBA Combine. Are they creeping back in? And was Sarr just waiting for them all along, or what? That's what I'm trying to figure out. But it seems like a tough blow for Kansas, just because I keep looking at that roster, and I think Dion made a good point about Kansas on a segment he and Carter did recently on a full episode about how, the way that Self has built around Badunga and around Darren Peterson, it's not the flashiest names necessarily, but they could be good fit guys alongside the two stars. I just thought that, like, if you're opting for that method of roster building, it helps a lot to have that third guy, to where, it's maybe he's not going to go and get you 16, 17 points a game, but he can have those scoring outbursts. He can do the dirty work, like playing really good defense. I know that's like sort of the sell with Sarr, is a two-way upside as well. And I think there's a little bit of shot creation in his bag. Like, I think it just would portend much more favorably for Kansas to be back to where they're accustomed to being, in that top 10 spot. If you have that guy who's coming in, who, has a rock solid, like ready to go rookie coming in at the lead guard position, and then a true breakout guy at the five to kind of pick his spots and fill in. And for that to be gone now, seemingly, I don't know. It's kind of back to square one for Kansas as they seek to retool this roster.
Yeah, from a Kansas perspective, I agree. This is another confusing development in a confusing offseason. We've gone from basically, we can call it 2 or 3 years of the NIL era, where Bill Self has just been the big bad spender, drop a bag wherever I want. I'll take the five most talented players in the portal and figure it out later. Clearly, that didn't work. It led to some of the choppier teams in Bill Self's tenure. And I think
Mm-hmm.
Bill Self is intentionally so trying to course correct a little bit. He's not going around just throwing money at all of the money grabbers here. He's not throwing 7 million at PJ Haggerty and Des Claude simultaneously. He's trying to build a
Mm-hmm.
roster that makes sense around Darren Peterson. But that's left them in a spot where this roster still needs some talent. I mean, Darren Peterson could be transcendent, and Flory Badunga could be the breakout guy. We believe in him, and this team could still be 1 to 2 pieces short. And I think Dame Sarr was sort of the perfect guy between them. Number one, positionally so, but number two, because he is that good of a connector. He's not going to necessarily lead them in scoring, but he's a play finisher. He's a big time athlete, and there's a hole, quite frankly. They've got Melvin Council, who's good. Trey White can eat minutes on the wing, but Dame Sarr, in my opinion, wouldn't really have had to worry about those guys and would have been the priority. So I think if I were a
Uh,
Kansas fan, you okay?
Former Rambler, Jaden Dawson doesn't get a mention there.
Well, he's a guard, positionally different.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair,
But
fair. I was just thinking like perimeter guys. I just want to make sure that the Loyola fans out there know we're pro Drew, we're pro
we
Ramblers,
are,
but
we are, we are somewhat pro Jaden Dawson. Yes, I have my full attention on this year's version of who was their bench guard this last year?
Diggy Coit,
Diggy Coit.
Shaquille
Yeah,
Moore.
they
It was like
upgraded the
the road.
Diggy Coit spot very
It
nicely.
was
It
like
was good.
a
I,
rotating door of mid, pretty much. But continue.
yeah, it's just like Kansas fans have to be a little bit like, what's going on? Because
Hmm.
I think Sarr at minimum, okay, if you were on my side of like Bill Self is intentionally building this roster with more role players, then you felt good about that. That's what our coach is wanting to do. But now this is the first domino that's fallen where it feels like Bill Self's not getting what he wants. And that's two very different things, right? Like, hey, I just want role players. I don't want to spend the money. Is a totally different thing than we want Dame Sarr. He is a
Yeah.
pro. We're prioritizing him. And then at the last second, Duke comes in and swoops in. Like this is a head-to-head loss. And now it sort of reframes this whole offseason for me of like, is this what Bill Self wanted? Or has Bill Self run out of steam a little bit on the Kansas side of things here? I don't know. What's the right interpretation?
Yeah, it's almost a little bit of what Gator Boys stay hot what they're facing right now with it seems like all their eggs are in the Boogie Flam basket. Des Claude didn't work out. They know they need another guard. That's kind of the last option unless they go international. With Kansas now, it's like the only real option you can get for that complementary piece. And granted, I think Darian Williams is probably more than just a complimentary piece. I think he'd be the second leading scorer behind Peterson, but he to me, maybe good things generally happen to Kansas to where it could all work out. And Williams is a much more impactful college basketball player next year than Sarr is. But you better hope Darian Williams not only withdraws, but that someone else doesn't come in with a bigger offer last minute. But then I don't know. It's tough for me to still like bet against Bill Self not being able to pull that off, especially when you look at how Kansas has basically treated Texas Tech like its G League team since the portal became a thing. And like pretty much every kid who played either at Texas Tech or is from Texas, like Rylan Griffin, when they hit the portal, Self just slides in, draws them in with the Southern draw, and they're wearing is there a special name for the red and blue for Kansas? They need like I need like royal and maroon. Like they need something a little catchy like that. Let me hit the PR department for the Jayhawks. Hit me up. We can workshop this. But yeah, it's usually those kids end up wearing royal and maroon. So maybe that's the case with Williams. But yeah, that's like really their last shot at a true impact guy, which you hit it at the top. This roster still needs.
This video is presented by Underdog Fantasy, and they've got a free pick tonight that you're going to want to take advantage of. Anthony Edwards to score over 0.5 points. Ant scores every single playoff game, as far as I know. Card, has he ever not scored?
Not since I've been alive, and that's 32 years for those wondering out there.
That pick sounds extremely free. Promo code SLEEPERS as a first-time depositor at Underdog Fantasy. You can get up to $1,000 in bonus bets and a free pick. This is the shortest ad read we've ever done. You're welcome back to the video. Yeah, usually those Texas Tech guys come in and then, or Texas, State of Texas, Rylan Griffin, as you mentioned. Usually they come in and then Bill Self throws them under the bus and they go out, right? That's how it's worked the last couple of years with McCullough and with Rylan Griffin. So, look, it is hard to criticize Bill Self for anything. I certainly don't want to do it. I still, gun to my head, think he's probably the biggest, baddest coach in this entire sport. That's not really going to change. He's got 30 years of a resume on that front. But I will say this offseason is noticeably different. It has certainly changed, and there's a lot of programs that I think are evolving in the portal era. Kansas feels like they're devolving here. It looks like they shot their best shot in the portal era, threw all the money at everyone, spent more than everyone, preseason number one, multiple years in a row, got nothing to show for it, and they've run out of tricks. And I think there is a skeptical person out there that isn't me, but it's someone out there who would make the argument that Bill Self was dominating this sport for decades when he was paying for players nobody else was paying for. And now everybody's paying for players. And he hasn't really cracked the code on this. And look, Darren Peterson is a stud. Bill Self calls him the best player he's ever gotten. He has not put a win now roster around Darren Peterson. He just has not done it. That's why he's scrambling to try and bring in Dame Sarr. And I have my eyes on this because I don't think this is a good development whatsoever. Do you have anything to add to that? And then I want to do the Duke side of this too quickly.
I would just slow your roll. You see, look behind you, Greg. Look behind you.
Am
You
I,
see
am I
what
going
you
to
have?
find Kansas fans crawling out of my basement at me?
No, but what you see is a conference tournament championship banner. Bill Self is hanging national title banners. He's got two of them things. Like you can't just say he got to his level by paying players when no one else is. I think he's a great coach in addition to that. Like he's found gyms like Christian Brown and turned them into national champions. I think what's the better question might be, has it run its course at Kansas and does he need to follow in the steps of, I don't know, maybe another former Kansas coach who made his way down to Chapel Hill, finish his career there. Maybe that's what I would say some people are saying, but no, I don't. I'm still not
Well,
ready to
I was
say.
saying that a month ago, right?
Yeah,
That
I
was
know,
my
but
conspiracy theory was he was going to end up in Chapel Hill.
I want to, it's been a long enough time that I want to hijack that idea and claim that it was mine from the start.
You can do
Wall.
that. I will support that. Look,
But
again, I'm
I
not
don't
doubting
think,
Bill Self's abilities. I'm just, if you don't see the timeline line in the sand of like everyone started spending millions of dollars on players with this little blip in the radar, like it's only been 2 years.
Mhm.
But it's been 2 years where Kansas outspent everyone and didn't get anything to show for it. Like, it's just a little bit different now. And it's noticeable that he approached this offseason differently, but man, now it's almost like he got to the final exam, right? Like we're almost solidifying our roster. We're running out of options. I need to ace the final exam to pass the class. And John Shire just swooped in and took the exam off his desk. So we'll see what happens. Now, as I keep alluding to, the expectation here is that this means Duke has gone back into Dame Sarr. When the Illinois stuff cooled down the first time, the rumor was that Duke was the likely landing spot. What I had been told from a couple people, a couple different sources at the time, was that it was Duke and Oregon who were still involved heavily, among other schools. Um, do you think this is a done deal for Duke, or what do you think exactly is the reason we're getting crystal balls removed?
Yeah, I mean, I think Duke is a heavy player here. I don't know if it's a done deal. It just seems like it makes too much sense when you look at Cedric Coward blowing up at the NBA Combine that Duke goes back to its old flame and tries to get Sarr and Durham. And honestly, Greg, my takeaway right now is like just this underlying fear that Coward gets enough feedback and it's like, no, actually, we want to see if you can play against power conference competition for a whole year. Maybe you should go to Duke, and Duke ends up with them both. That would be on par with everything that has happened to me, my team, my fandom since UNC went into halftime up 9 against Alabama in the Sweet 16 in 2024. So that is the monster that is lurking behind my back.
I mean, it's a scary monster. Can I give you my crystal ball? What do I think is going to happen here?
Please do.
Let me start with this, just speaking on what I'm perceiving all of these Dame Sarr developments as. Riley, he's burned every single bridge he could possibly burn in a 2-month span. Like, I don't know the kid personally. I don't know anyone on his side. I don't mean to just assign a negative reputation to something, but just since I've followed from the outside, how has Dame Sarr approached this entire thing? He's burned a bridge with FC Barcelona, who he was playing for actively. He's burned a bridge with Illinois. He's now burned a bridge with Kansas, and he still hasn't made a choice. So I just point blank, I don't believe this kid wants to play college basketball. I think that's abundantly clear at this point. He left FC Barcelona to go to the Combine and go to all of these events. And Barcelona was like, we need you in the rotation. No. And he was like, I don't care. I'm leaving in the middle of the night. Like he has always been about Dame Sarr and Dame Sarr's interests in this 2-month span. His interests at all times have been guided towards, I want to play in the NBA. That's it. Otherwise, he would have committed to Illinois months ago for a good amount, and Illinois would have just felt great about their roster. So, look, if Kansas doesn't have the money and opportunity to get him happy right now, I don't think anyone in the country does, because we know nobody has more money than Bill Self when needed, and nobody has more minutes opportunity for a player like Dame Sarr right now than Kansas.
It's a fair
So,
point.
in my opinion, what I think is about to happen is this. I think Dame Sarr thinks he's going to Duke right now. I think he's going to slow play it and not commit to Duke, just like he did to Illinois and to Kansas. I think that Duke is going to find a way to keep Cedric Coward. And then I think Duke is going to close the door on Dame Sarr, just like Kansas is now seemingly closing the door on Dame Sarr, just like Illinois did a month ago, just like FC Barcelona did 2 weeks before that. This kid is burning every bridge he could possibly burn. And I think he will either stay in the NBA draft and possibly be taken in the second round, or I think he will scramble and end up at like an Oregon at the very final hours of this summer.
Not Oregon. Not Oregon.
Why not Oregon?
Because when I close my eyes and I think about it, when I picture Dame Sarr, it's actually not really a visual. It's more of a song that starts playing.
Oh my God.
And it's go to lunch in the Jewish community. Na, 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 na. She want to leave me, I'm low down.
Where is he going? I'm lost.
I botched
Oh,
that. I'm
to,
sorry.
to, to Jerome Tang.
From Tang in Kansas State. Yeah.
I got you.
It would help if I knew the rest of the words to low down. Bad execution by me. Um, I do like the idea of him ending up at Duke and you having these predispositions toward Dame Sarr to instead of every time I turn on you and Dion or you and Carter talking about Duke, it's like I want to cut my ears off with a blunt object. I get to hear you actually voice some Duke skepticism. That'd be fun for me. I miss those days. I miss
I
us.
I feel like when Duke cuts Dame Sarr off after Kansas cuts Dame Sarr off, we're gonna have like one final week of North Carolina insiders claiming that they're getting Dame Sarr before he commits to USC or Oregon.
All right, we could end the video
Let's
now.
end the show.